Hey there, we're going to finish up our review of Firestorm, the Nuclear Man, the first series. And we're going to take you now to the unpublished, really for real final issue that did not make publication. And you know what? It's so sad. I couldn't even show my face, for the tears have made my eyes all puffy and I So welcome to Kevin's commentary on comics. Today we will take a look at the unpublished 6th issue of Firestorm, the Nuclear Man. Now apparently they had this one all done, all up to the coloring, and as you can see here there's even a blank spot for where the colorist's name should be. But the series was officially canceled with issue number 5 thanks to the DC implosion of 1978. Still, this gem found its way into the mass-produced printed page when they released it in the Firestorm trade paperback back in 2011. And as I said before, I got mine when I purchased issue number 5 off of Comixology. So let's get cracking on Firestorm the Nuclear Man number 6, The Typhoon is a Storm of the Soul. This is, of course, created by Jerry Conway and Al Milgrom. Now, we come into this one with Firestorm testing out his powers in Professor Stein's lab. Stein wants to know just how much power Firestorm can put out, and if he's causing any radiation leakage that maybe harm people that they come in contact with. So meanwhile, the private investigator Stein hired to follow him to find out why Stein has been having all of these blackouts is lurking outside the lab. Now you see, if you don't remember, Stein doesn't remember that he is Firestorm whenever he and Ronnie Raymond split apart. He just has these periods of time where he doesn't remember anything, and Ronnie's too big of a jerk to tell Stein about it, so he hires a private investigator to follow him around. Now back in the lab, Stein realizes that Firestorm absorbs cosmic rays to fuel his powers, which means there's an endless source of energy to pull from. I'll be honest, that was the first time I heard about this cosmic ray bit, and it kind of seemed odd to me. Now he's called the Nuclear Man, and I've never really associated cosmic rays with like nuclear reactors. You know, actually I've only really thought about cosmic rays in relation to the Fantastic Four. So years later, the Firestorm character, they made him a fire elemental. So how did they explain away this cosmic ray bit? If I'm going to guess, I'm going to think they just never brought it up again. So while they're busy testing their powers, we're going to take you over to a boat in the middle of the ocean where we find another member of the Shine family, Johnny, taking his atomic-powered submarine vessel, the Nautilus II, out for its maiden voyage. The only problem is that there's a typhoon coming and the crew, quite understandably, thinks it's unsafe to do this test today. Well, that doesn't stop old Johnny Shine. He has something to prove. He has got to get some respect for his achievements because he is so ashamed to call himself a Shine. Now, if you remember, we've been introduced to Spit Shine and Ma Shine and several members of the Shine family in previous issues. These guys are all over the place. They're basically mobsters, but this guy is a scientist and obviously ashamed to be part of the Shine family. So he launches the Nautilus and it plunges into the ocean where it is immediately knocked around. So much so it knocks out Johnny, and the Nautilus is tossed around the ocean for a couple hours until it goes so deep the pressure begins to crack the vessel. Now, what happens when you mix seawater with atomic energy? Well, if you're a human, you get transformed. But into what? We'll find out later because Firestorm is using his nuclear touch back in the lab on a little bunny rabbit, all in the name of science. Stein wants to know what the limits are to their powers, and much like they did when they tried this on Killer Frost, there's like some atomic feedback which knocks Firestorm off his feet. Ronnie thinks it's just something they can't do, but Stein thinks, well, maybe there's a psychological issue here. You know, there's no difference in the energy output or the quality of the nuclear power Firestorm is putting out, so maybe it's just a mental block. He just can't do it. But they decide to look at that later, and they split apart. Stein again, confused as what's going on, and Ronnie sneaks out like some sort of worm. Now, of course, it is right after the transformation that the private investigator takes a peek through the window. Misses the whole split apart thing, which would certainly make his case solved in this assignment that he has. But look at this guy. What kind of PI puts his hands up on the window like that? It's really stealthy, right? So the private investigator does see Ronnie leave and thinks, hey, maybe I should follow this dude. And maybe there was some foreshadowing going on here, but I really didn't see much of the point to this series of him following Ronnie doing going home and seeing his girlfriend and all that, he finally just decides to give up following Ronnie and leaves. But meanwhile, back at the ship, there is a typhoon. But wait, it's not your ordinary typhoon. There's a man inside, and he destroys the boat. Who could that be? Well, I guess we all know it's probably Johnny Shine. I don't think there's much of a mystery there to be solved. So then we take a quick peek. Speaking of mysteries, we take a quick peek at the mystery around Ronnie's father. His father is yelling at Ronnie for going into his office, which he did last issue or the issue before that. And, since this book ends, or actually has already ended, we do find out through either backup stories in the Flash or maybe in the Fury of Firestorm, the next series, that his dad was apparently in the Witness Protection Program. He was a distinguished investigative journalist, and he brought down the Shine family, brought them to justice. The infamous Shoe Shine is the guy he brought down. And so he's put into the Witness Protection Program. So that explains why we have seen so much of the Shine family throughout this series. They were obviously going to let this play out and find out all about this, but I'm not sure if that happened in the backup stories of the Flash or if it happened in the regular series, or the newer series, but that's what happened, and I wanted to give you guys closure on that one. Anyway, the Typhoon Man is approaching New York City, and Ronnie enacts the change into Firestorm, and of course, it's right when the private investigator is conducting a lie detector test on Stein, and at the exact moment the PI turns around, Stein disappears. Just really frustrates the private investigator, and why not? Once again, though, we see previously established fact that Ronnie was merging to where Stein was and not the other way around, but here Stein goes to where Ronnie is. They never explain why that change was made. Honestly, they should never have mentioned in the issue, I think, where they're fighting Killer Frost, that Ronnie goes to Stein. If they had not done that, it would just been kind of chance as to who does what. So Firestorm confronts Typhoon, who can apparently generate lightning just like a real storm. He can even control the air pressure because Firestorm starts to suffocate. Now luckily, Firestorm can absorb the lightning, and he manages to change the water into ping pong balls. He changes rocks into rockets. Basically Firestorm is finally fighting a villain that has powers to match him, and he kind of holds his own, which really makes me wonder why villains like Multiplex and the Hyena were giving him such a hard time. Ultimately, Firestorm grapples Typhoon, they head on, and he manages to defeat Typhoon in a furious blast, but I don't really understand, but he turns back into Johnny Shine. All Johnny wanted to do was get back at his family. He says as such to his mother, who happened to be on the dock. I don't remember how they exactly got there, but then, for some reason, Firestorm just flies off and leaves this powerful villain with his family on the docks. The family of bad guys, I should mention. And that's it. That's the end of the series. So I'm Kevin, and that was my commentary. What did you think about this unpublished issue of Firestorm? Now, I did do a little bit of research because I was curious. I know Typhoon reappears in Fury of Firestorm, but I didn't know exactly, where the character went. So I did a little research. And it turns out they actually have his first appearance credited in Flash number 294 in February of 1981, which was obviously a backup story in the Flash. Interesting because they had this issue, and it was Johnny Shine as Typhoon, but in the re-released, redone backup story in the Flash, the guy is actually David Drake, who was working with Professor Stein to create this nuclear sub, and thus I think pretty much after that, it kind of follows the same origin story where it cracks, atomic energy, seawater, of course, you become Typhoon. So that whole Shine thing was just really abandoned completely, which I guess makes sense. That was more of a long play storyline going on within the first series there. But I thought that was an interesting tidbit. So I'd like to read those stories, but unfortunately they're not available on Comixology. Why is not the entire DC catalog available on there? Maybe they're getting ready to do a DC Unlimited, like Marvel Unlimited. Probably not, but oh well, maybe someday. So tune in next time. I think I am going to be sticking with a 70s comic series for a little bit. I really like looking at the early days of comics, although probably the 70s may not be considered early days. Maybe the tween years for comics, perhaps. But at any rate, I will dive into something else next time. And if you want to see that, the best way to do such is to subscribe. So hit that subscribe button. So why don't you go out and have a great day, and I will see you later.